Welcome, everybody, to the second biannual National Conference of PALCUS, but the first virtual conference. We're very excited to be doing this. As we all know, the pandemic has forced us all to reinvent the way we do things. And so instead of canceling this year's National Conference, we decided to take it virtual. And so we are thrilled to have 16 sessions. So far, over 1,000 registrations for the session, which is we certainly wouldn't have gotten that many had we had an in-person event. I mean, maybe someday we would, but it's a fantastic result. And I wanted to say a huge thank you to our partners in planning this conference, the Portugal-US Chamber of Commerce, AICEP, the Portuguese government, and the U.S. or the Portuguese Embassy in Washington, D.C. We all came together and brought wonderful speakers together, and it was really a wonderful collaborative effort, and I enjoyed working with all of them. And also some additional members of our committee, Bernardo and Magda from the Chamber, João from AICEP, Joe Santos, Carolina Rendero, Hugo Gravenita from the Embassy. It was a great, and of course some of the PALCUS directors, so it was wonderful to work with everybody. I want to thank Rita Faden for being our keynote speaker today, and for the ongoing support that FLAD has continued to show the community and all the new initiatives that FLAD has been launching. We're excited to hear about those. And so without further ado, I wanted to introduce the president of FLAD, the Fundação Luso-Americana para Desenvolvimento. Hope I said that correctly. So welcome, Rita. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you, Angela. Thank you for having me. Dear Angela and dear members of PALCUS, dear friends, thank you for inviting me to address you in this year's National Conference. 2 years ago, you organized your inaugural conference in Washington, D.C. It was a valuable step in the building of networks within the Portuguese American community. This year, we were supposed to meet in Miami. The pandemic forced us into this virtual format. In these and other initiatives, PALCUS had to adapt to the circumstances. We at FLAD did as well. But it is clear that your commitment to the Portuguese American community remains as strong as ever. Last year, I was present at your annual gala in Sacramento. I spoke with you about the importance of increasing the representation of the Portuguese American community. This is the way to better defend their interests. We all hope that soon we can go back to meeting each other face to face. Until then, we must not discourage. We must continue our work and be resilient in our efforts on behalf of the Portuguese American community in the United States. Along with shared values of freedom, rule of law, and democracy, the Portuguese American community is truly the bedrock of the long-standing alliance between Portugal and the United States. Our partnership is not only made up of our common history, but has evolved and is present in several fields today. It is estimated that the number of Americans of Portuguese descent living in the United States is almost 1.5 million. Hopefully, soon we will have more accurate data following the 2020 census. And if you have not done so already, you still have time to add your Portuguese ancestry in the census form and be sure to make Portuguese count. Throughout the centuries, many Portuguese have gone to the United States and have devoted time and energy to work for the prosperity of the country. These hardworking, creative people have excelled in many different fields. You are living proof that it is possible to be a committed American citizen and maintain the bond with Portugal. But as the community grows in number and strength, we need to make sure that it has a voice in the United States and is represented in elected bodies. Political representation is key to the affirmation of the American Portuguese community. For instance, the passing of the Advancing Mutual Interests and Growing Our Success Act, the Amigos Act, in the US House of Representatives was an important step to making Portuguese business people and investors eligible to E1 and E2 non-immigrant visas. FLAD is committed to deepen the bonds between Portugal and the United States and to support Portuguese Americans in the defense of their interests. Our recent association with the Make Portuguese Count campaign is an example of this. Make no mistake, for the community to have a voice, we need to know how many we are, where we are, and what we are doing. If you want to make a case for Portuguese languages in schools, or for the allocation of federal funds to ethnic-specific health research and healthcare, or for initiatives within the community, you need to equip yourself with data. Only if Portuguese Americans are identified can your interests and needs be served properly. But we also need to connect with each other. The associative spirit of our community has always been one of its best qualities. PALCUS is, of course, an example of this, but also CIPAC, the Portuguese Beyond Borders Institute, or LIEF, to name but a few. All these witness to the potential of our community. And FLAD will continue to support these institutions. We also strive to make the community feel close to the Portuguese culture, making it known and cherished in the US. And we're happy to learn that last year a resolution on celebrating June as Portuguese National Heritage Month was approved in the US Congress. These and many other achievements are the result of the initiative of an increasingly well-organized community. It is crucial to mark days and celebrate traditions, but we must go further. As we remember the past, we need to prepare the future of our community and reach out to its younger members. A lot has been done, but we need to do more. And we need to keep on working to harness the associative spirit of the community and make sure that these new ideas are developed that truly impact the lives of Portuguese Americans. If the community is stronger, if the network between its members is more robust, we will have a more favorable context and opportunities to emerge. The United States has always been a land of opportunities for Portuguese people. Today, the context is different. Portugal and the United States are two solid democracies and two modern economies. The new generations of Portuguese Americans are already born as part of the American society. They face new challenges and also unique opportunities. During the following days, we will reflect on many success stories and great opportunities for Portuguese Americans in the business sector and connect with key actors in the field. FLAD will always be a partner in your efforts to engage the new generation of Portuguese Americans, many of whom are participating in this conference. You have inherited the tradition of a hardworking and vibrant community, and you are the ones who will make sure the community is always present at the decision-making table. I wish you a good and fruitful conference. Thank you for listening to me.
Thank you so much, Rita. You hit on so many wonderful points and that are very relevant to the conference and why we're having this series of sessions, specifically the business opportunities that exist between our two countries. And in fact, that's one of the reasons we are having the theme of this conference is business opportunities for Portuguese Americans in Portugal. We actually had a lot of our members come to us and say, you know, as a result of the last national conference, hey, this was great, this conference. We really need something to highlight the business opportunities between the two countries and building some bridges. And we said, well, there's already a lot of entities and agencies doing that, but people still felt that there was a gap. And so that's why we brought together, AICEP and the Chamber and the Portuguese government, the entities that were already working on those types of programs to say, okay, well, let's share what each of us are doing and then, figure out where we can fill the gaps. And so that's really how this conference came together. But you hit on something that's really important, which is, yes, our community is becoming more aware of the opportunities. I think we're becoming more aware of the importance of being counted. And I have my Make Portuguese Count shirt, my shirt today. So Marie, you should be proud. Oh yeah, there you go.
Yes.
So as you said, people have until October 31st to still fill out the census. So please do. But we're also seeing people wanting to actually start to form more networks to be more inclusive and bring people together. So for example, we're launching the Portuguese American Women's Empowerment Alliance this week. We also have the Next Gen Academy that we are going to be launching on Friday as well, which is an initiative that FLAD will be supporting, which is all about bringing the youth together and creating a leadership platform to give, whether it's workshops and leadership skills or connecting them with people in industry to help them succeed. I'd be curious to know, and please, folks who are watching via Zoom or live on Facebook, if you have questions, please send us your questions. We can answer them live here. But Rita, I'd be curious to get your impression of, just in your time at FLAD, how your observations of the community and how things have evolved over time in general, and then of course because of the pandemic, right? And how we have adjusted our way of doing things.
So I've been in FLAD for over a year and a half, I would say. And I think I was truly lucky in the moment that I chose, let's say, to be in FLAD, because we can see a difference in the sense that we feel a renewed interest of in establishing networks and in understanding the importance of having networks of Portuguese association in different fields of societies, and being able to have a more important political representation, because that's the way that you can have a say in defense of your interests. So when I remember last year in Sacramento, where I discussed with so many people in PALCUS, and also in my visits to New England and to California last year, when I was able to visit many associations and to discuss and to talk with many people. And my message was always the same, that it is key to reinforce these associations, to create networks within the associations for the Portuguese to be able to associate and to gain political representation, to have a bigger say in the interests and in the teams that interest them, and to defend their interests. That's the best way. If you are not at the table at the moment of the decision, your interests are not as counted. So that is very important. And there's a lot of things that I also think it's important to observe and to learn a little bit from other communities, from other countries that have started, I would say, earlier this process of association. Of course, for many years, the Portuguese Americans in the United States have maintained their traditions and have had associations. But what I think it's important now is to try to, as PALCU is doing, to try to associate at the national level and to gain a more robust position. And I think we are in the good spot. Of course, the pandemic has, as in all areas of our life, impacted us in a negative way. It would be very interesting, for instance, to be able to have these conversations face to face and to see PALCUS gaining more impact in American society. But I believe, I'm optimistic about this, and I believe that with time we will see that. But for that we need to work. I think all the associations in the United States, all the Americans of Portuguese heritage that are interested in maintaining and reinforcing the ties with Portugal and with our history and with our culture, but also of defending their interests in the United States, I think it's time to work together. It's crucial to work together. And in that sense, the census will be very important, because of course, it's very important to know how many many Americans of Portuguese accent there are, where they are, what are they doing. So that will give us key information to help us work with it.
Yes, I would agree 1,000% with everything that you were saying.
We agree.
Yes. And one thing that I think, one positive thing that is coming out of our current situation, whether it's the political climate or the pandemic, is we're seeing, I feel, a lot more interest from the Portuguese community about political participation. Before it was people might have gone to vote, but you never really saw people being vocal about their opinions. Everyone just sort of kept to themselves because that, don't make a fuss, just kind of, be a good citizen.
That is, look, if I can just interrupt you,
Yeah.
I would say that is the old Portuguese way.
Yeah.
But we need to be more present. We cannot
Absolutely.
be afraid of showing our position, of saying what we think, and of being present at the discussion.
Mm-hmm.
I understand Portuguese tend to be modest, and that is a good quality in lots of things.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it is important to say what we want, say what we need, and to defend our position. Because very clearly, if we don't do that, others won't defend our position for us. So
Absolutely.
We need to speak up. And I think and we can speak up and maintain our traditions and maintain our way of being.
Right. And I think you're seeing more of that vocalness with the younger generations, which again feeds the importance of having a youth network, and yes. A stronger network. So we do have a question from one of our audience members. Thank you for giving us an overview of FLAD. Can you please speak about how FLAD can facilitate the exploration of innovation in Portugal and which sectors are being prioritized by the government?
Okay, so as for FLAD, I would say that we have now 4 clear priorities where to focus our work: science, education, cultural, and transatlantic relations. And when I say transatlantic relations, of course, I include here our work with the Americans of Portuguese descent, the support that we give to so many communities and to many associations, be it the traditional festas or, for instance, Fabric, which is a festival of contemporary art in Fall River, which intends to showcase a modern Portugal, because I think it's great for us and for the Portuguese Americans in the United States to show their to maintain the traditions and to show the traditions, but at the same time to mix that and be able to present a new modern Portugal that exists in all areas, including in this area of contemporary art. So that is very important. For instance, we try to, in all the areas that we do, we try to partner with other Portuguese institutions, and we also try to partner with the institutions from the Portuguese government, because of course we need to work together vis-a-vis the United States to have a different scale. Because when we compare Portugal and the United States, of course, we have a difference of scale. So we need to organize ourselves and we need to work together. That's what we did, for instance, with the Simoes Institute, when we are financing and helping them in the support for the teaching of Portuguese in American schools and for the equipment. That's an example. Also, for instance, recently with the health minister, where we launched a prize for mental health, scientific investigation in the field of mental health, which is always very important. But this pandemic has shown that that we need to be very conscious of the issues of mental health, and that's an issue that we need to address. And so we are contributing. We want to finance scientific investigation in that field. Also in the area of, we are working in several areas, and we try always to partner with different institutions so we can have more impact in our actions.
Agreed. I think that message of collaboration is really, really important.
Yes, we are not alone. We cannot do it alone.
Right. So how do you see, so we've done a lot of adjusting and improvising because of the pandemic, right? So virtual conferences, we've, FLAD launched a podcast, PALCUS has had a podcast for a while, and we're doing lots of things virtually. How do you see those things in the short term as well as the long term? Do you feel like these are just short-term initiatives, or do you see some of them being able to, stand the test of time and continue on even once the pandemic is under control? How do you see that kind of playing out?
I think some of the initiatives that initially we thought would be short-lived probably will continue, because I imagine, as everyone who is listening to us, we all think a lot how it will be after the pandemic. We don't know when that after the pandemic will begin. I mean, we all hope it will be as soon as possible, but I imagine that we all think about it. And at FLAD, we also discuss it a lot. In a sense, some of the things that we had to rediscover ourselves and to rediscover a new way of working, I imagine that we will continue. For instance, a concern that we have had in the area of social responsibility and the support that FLAD has given to certain organizations that operate, for instance, with the homeless or the food banks in Portugal, and that concern with social responsibility is something that we will continue, probably. Also, some of the initiatives, for instance, you spoke about the podcast. It's something, for FLAD, it's a new way of reaching a bigger audience. And we will probably continue because it has been very successful, and I think that we will continue. But nevertheless, for instance, we maintain some of the activities that we had foreseen. For instance, we have now a big exhibition in Lisbon of our art collection. It was something that we had intended to open up in May, but then it was not possible, so we have postponed it. But we have opened it, 15 days ago, and it will continue until January. Of course, now the rules are different. Everyone has to wear a mask. We have only small group of people can enter each time, but I mean, we continue to do things in all the areas that we work. We continue to do things, but I understand what you are saying. There's a new way of thinking, a new way of doing certain things, and I think some of the changes are here to stay, and we will probably embrace them for the future.
I hope you're right, because I feel like a lot of our Portuguese organizations that have been around for 50, even possibly 100 years will have to evolve, right? And figure out how do you add some of these virtual components to continue to keep them alive. All right, so we have one more question and then we'll have to wrap it up, but it's regarding the 4 areas of priority that you mentioned for FLAD. It says, when you mentioned the 4 priorities, one was science. Is public health and medicine a part of that? Because the health of Portuguese Americans is studied very little. And so what is your opinion on how we can improve that, or how that will be addressed?
As I was saying, one of the key aspects of that is the answer to the census, because I specifically refer to those concerns, because the fact that you can affirm that in a certain community you have an important number of Portuguese Americans will make it easier to have funds for a study, for instance, in certain specific diseases that are more common in people of Portuguese heritage, for instance. But at the same time, in the science field, we at FLAD, we try to support, of course, we give grants on the regular basis for Portuguese to go to the United States and to Americans to come to Portugal to do research in very different areas. And of course, public health is of course one of our areas of concern. So we are open to that. Of course, with the pandemic, that was one of the areas that was most impacted, because the support, the grant giving that we usually gave to either to research initiatives or to scholarships or to participate in a conference, for instance, all that has been impacted by the pandemic. But it's an area where we want to continue to support, and we have different types of programs for supporting scientific investigation.
That's great. And for those of you watching on Facebook or through Zoom, we will be publishing some information on all of the different initiatives that FLAD has launched, how to get in contact with FLAD if you have some ideas and you'd like to participate.
It's very easy. You can go to our website. Yes. You have everything there. www.flad.pt.
PT, right. So yes, I'm hoping that some folks out there want to get involved to our message around becoming more involved, becoming more vocal, and participating more actively in the process so that the Portuguese do have a voice. And with that, we are going to wrap up our session. Our next session is about doing business in Miami as a nod to our canceled gala and conference in Miami. But thank you so much, Rita. This was wonderful
Thank you for having
discussion.
me.
And we obviously look forward to a continued collaboration with FLAD over many years to come. So thank you, everybody. Thank you, everybody out there for listening. We hope you will join us for some of the future sessions that we have. We have 3 more today. And over the next 2 weeks, we have 15 more sessions. So please join us. And until next time, thank you very much, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.